kind of issues in our society.
Okay, so join me in introducing our moderator. She is a passionate youth advocate from Taguig City. Her journey in child rights advocacy began at just 9 years old when she started actively participating in seminars and community education sessions focused on online sexual exploitation of children and children's rights. It was in these early moments that her heart was ignited with a deep resolve to be voiced for the voiceless and a force for her fellow youth. With nearly 8 years of on-the-ground experience, our moderator currently serves as the Vice Chairperson of Kabataang Taguigueño Against Child Trafficking, or KTAC, where she works to protect children from abuse and exploitation. She also lends her insight and experience as a youth advisor of Terdazomes alongside her advocacy. She is a consistent honor student, proof that academic excellence and social responsibility can coexist in the life of a young change maker. She holds firm to the belief that the future belongs to the children, the very same children who are often oppressed, abused, and exploited. May I call here on stage Miss Kate Louise Lianes.
A round of applause. Okay. And to complete this segment, let us all welcome our panelists for today. Starting with our first panel, she is a leading voice in the global fight against sexual exploitation and abuse of children with a deep-rooted commitment to gender justice and child protection. With over 20 years of experience on 4 continents, she brings an intersectional, gender-transformative, child rights-based approach to all her work. As head of the Sexual Exploitation of Children, or SEC, program at Terdazomes, Netherlands, she leads the design and implementation of innovative, evidence-informed strategies that address the root causes of child exploitation. She champions child-centered systems that empower children as agents of change while ensuring accountability from institutions and duty bearers. She holds a BPhil in International Development from University of Oxford with specialized expertise in the sexual trafficking and exploitation of adolescent girls. Her work spans more than 30 countries where she has led participatory, child-centered research and developed strategic programs for major international organizations. She is a thought leader in the global movement to create safer digital and physical environments for children. She actively contributes to research, policy development, and advocacy, placing marginalized children's voices at the heart of decision-making. Without further ado, let us all welcome Dr. Zosha Gruber. Our next panelist, she is a staunch child rights advocate with over 2 decades of dedicated public service as the officer in charge of the Policy, Plans and Research Division of the Council for the Welfare of Children, or CWC. She has been at the forefront of shaping national policies that uphold and protect the rights of Filipino children. Her extensive work spans legislative advocacy, strategic planning, and interagency coordination, particularly in strengthening child protection systems and advancing the welfare of children in vulnerable situations, promoting their best interests in all settings. Her unwavering commitment continues to play a vital role in driving the Council's mandates forward, ensuring that every child is given the opportunity to grow in a safe, nurturing, and rights-respecting environment. Beyond her professional role, she lives and breathes the principles of children's rights in her everyday life. As a mother and grandmother, she ensures that the values of respect, participation, and protection guide how children are raised and nurtured within her own home. Her personal and professional commitments are deeply intertwined, Achievement Champion for children at every level of society. Let's give a warm round of applause to Miss Nermina G. E. Mojica.
Pag-ibig tulad ng batis, tulad ng batis, pag-ibig tulad ng batis, diwa ko. Pag-ibig tulad ng batis.
For our next panelist is a licensed psychometrician who completed a Master of Arts major in clinical psychology degree at the University of Santo Tomas Graduate School. He is the chairperson of Psychological Association of the Philippines LGBT Psychology Special Interest Group for 2024 up to 2026 as they advocate for the mental health of the LGBTQ plus community. Our next panel volunteers at the UST Psychotrauma Clinic and is an assessment associate at Child Fam Possibility Psychosocial Services. Exposed to handling clinical and psychoeducational assessments, he is also a faculty associate at the Far Eastern University, Manila, a special lecturer at the Lecture of the Philippines University, Batangas, and a national lecturer at the RGO Psychology Review Center. Let us all welcome Rolf Gian Marcos.
Okay, to the next panelist is a passionate child rights, gender equality, and mental health advocate based in Barangay Osasan, Taguig City. A driven youth leader and social change maker, Shai is the founder of the first ever children's desk in the National Capital Region and the founding chairperson of the Youth Alliance of Taguig City or YATSI. Shai serves as the consultant and former president of Ricardo Papa Against Child Trafficking or RPAC and the focal person and founding chairperson of YAPAC, Youth Alliance of the Philippines Against Child Trafficking. He also presents the Philippines in various international and national youth consultations, including CRC Asia's Regional Children's Meeting in Quezon City, Metro Manila, and the hashtag for Young Creators Consultation in the Philippines. As a delegate for the implementation of RA 11930 or Anti-OSAIC law and the youth consultant for TikTok Philippines on safety policy, Shai continues to push for a systemic change in protecting children and youth, online and offline. Recognized for his contributions, Shai has received several awards including Outstanding Youth Advocate Gawad Parangal 2022 and Pinakamahusay na Kabataan 2023. In addition to his advocacy work, Shai is a business owner and a real estate back office professional, demonstrating excellence in both community leadership and entrepreneurship. Once again, Ms. Shai Rivera. Last but definitely not the least, for our final panelist, Annalisa Yasa is the Violence Against Women or VAW Desk Officer at Barangay Ibayong Tipas, Taguig City, a role she has dedicated herself for the past 9 years. She has been an active member of Philippines Against Child Trafficking Taguig chapter since 2016 and currently serves as the organization's treasurer. Outside of her professional advocacy work, Annalisa is a devoted mother of 2 children. For her, being a mother is her greatest source of strength and inspiration, a role that grounds her advocacy and fuels her passion for protecting women and families. A devoted mother of 2, she balances her responsibilities at home and in the community with unwavering dedication. Once again, Ms. Annalisa Yasa.
Ayan. So big thanks to our host for that very comprehensive introduction for our panelists. So good morning everyone! Good morning! Ayan. Isip pa po ba ang lahat? Yes! Ayan. So again, I am Kate, a youth advocate from Taguig City, and it is such an important moment and a real privilege even to be able to sit alongside such empowered stakeholders and individuals here today. So, and I would also like to thank TDH for taking the initiative to talk about such important topic because as a youth moderator, I am not just here to ask questions, I am also here to listen, to learn, and hopefully be part of a meaningful conversation that I know would matter deeply. So, as we all heard earlier from the presentation, Third Zone Netherlands conducted a study entitled Rainbows in the Dark, Filipina Girls and LGBTI Children in the Fight to Stop ASAEG. And that title alone says so much. It speaks so much to the resilience in the face of harm, and it reminds us that even in the darkness, there are voices, there are identities and stories that shine, and only if we choose to see and to hear them. So we have here amazing individuals from different aspects of our community to hopefully answer our question, to deepen our understanding of this very topic that we are about to discuss today. So, are you all ready? Yes! Parang mahina. Ready na po ba ang lahat? Yes! Panelists, are we ready?
Yes.
I think we are all ready. So, maybe to kick off our conversation, as a youth advocate myself, I have observed po that our generation is very reliant on technology, internet, and digital spaces in general. So, I would just like to ask any of the panelists could answer for this first question. So, from your perspective, what does it mean to ensure that every child, in all their diversity, is seen, heard, and protected, especially online? So you may just raise your hand or send me a signal and I'll be happy to hand you the mic. So anyone po from the panelists? Oh, Miss G.
She said, ikaw na tita. Okay. Okay, I may be tita to some, I may be already Lola. Oh, no, my granddaughters call me Mama. But I told them that I'm coming here in a youth-led dialogue on online safety for girls and LGBTQI. Oh, sorry. And one of my granddaughters happens to be part of that group. And she told me, go mama, slay and flex, that you're our safe space. So I'm telling you, I am a safe space, okay? Kasi if I would go by your, when you talk about children seen, heard, and protected online means, dapat walang distinction. I mean, all of you should be protected. Maybe for some, they would think girls should be protected more. Pero as a child, you should all be protected. It shouldn't be because you're a girl. Kasi sabi nga ng isa, di ba? Are you considered bakla pagka umiyak ka? Are you considered effeminate? No. It's because you all have feelings and you are all children. So it doesn't mean because you're a male, you're female, or you belong to the LGBTI group, then you have distinction. No. Your being a child alone is already a vulnerability. But that shouldn't stop you from being vulnerable. But it should even pump you up to become agents of change.
Yan, palakpakan naman po natin si Ms. G. Anyone else from the panel?
Okay. So I'm a parent of two children, 10 and 13 years old, and I know how much time my children love to spend online. And children, regardless of if they're male, female, or gender diverse, have a right to be protected and to participate even in online spaces. So this is a right that is affirmed by the Convention of the Rights of the Child, to which your government has ratified and committed to ensure. But it also means understanding that children are not the same. Not all girls are the same. Not all LGBT children are the same. And that you have unique needs because of your backgrounds, because of your other identities. Exactly. Your environment. Some children have disabilities. Some children have different education levels. Some children have different sense of well-being and mental health. So understanding that children have different needs and need different types of support is really key. And in order for us to understand that, we need to listen to children. And need to listen to children, even the most marginalized children. Even the children who are silenced, even the children who are sitting in the dark. We have to listen to them. We have to recognize, yes, their vulnerabilities, but we have to recognize their strengths. Children cope with very difficult decisions every single day. Children have to survive in very difficult environments every day, and recognizing that and recognizing their agency is key for us to be able to understand how to protect them and how to work with them. So at TDH, what's most important for us is partnering with children. We don't make decisions for children, we don't make projects for them. Conic isn't made by us for children, it's made with children. And I think that is the only way in which we can ensure that all children are heard, that all children are seen, and that all children are protected.
Thank you so much. It is very comforting to know that we have here mothers, we have grandmothers here with us today, presenting themselves as a safe space. It is very comforting for us children to have your presence here today. So as we've heard, children experience online world in very different ways. And these experiences are shaped by their genders, their identity, and the spaces that they move through. So the question becomes more than just how do we protect children, but rather it becomes how does our protection, or does our protection truly meet the different needs of, or the diverse realities that these children face? So may I ask the program head of TTH, Ms. Zosha, how do we make sure that our efforts to keep children safe online also recognize their different needs and experiences, especially those of girls and LGBTQI?
So I have just spoken for quite a bit. So if I can redirect that question to the panelists.
Yes, you may. Definitely, anyone from the panel may answer. Yeah, how do we make sure that efforts to keep children safe online also recognize their different needs and experiences, especially of those of girls and LGBTQI?
I think that's a key for me. We really need to have to hype our awareness campaign on how you can be empowered, how you can be safe. Sometimes it's easy to say that young people have that aggressiveness and also they're good, but no, you are young and you may be aggressive, but you should have the right information so you can have informed decisions, diba? Unless you are taught ng right information, I don't think you can be safe. So, but then that doesn't go for you alone. I think the adults around you should also be aware on how to keep you safe. Because, we coexist. Much as you don't want adults to be hovering around you always, we really coexist. And I always say, adults should also be open in terms of communicating with you. I think communication is the key also on how we keep you safe.
Ayan. Thank you, Tita. No? For me, as a young, ang paggamit ng social media is sa aming mga may isip na, no? Like 18 up, kami na yung gumagawa ng kapalaran namin or yung nagdidesisyon para sa social media namin. Sometimes, we don't have supervised by our parents, but pinipilit namin na maging safe as well sa social media sa kung paano namin siya matututunan by the environment din ng social media. Like for example, ang environment ng social media ko, I have a good friends in social media. So, yung nakikita ko sa Facebook is very okay siya, walang negative. It's all positive. But, pag yung nakikita ko sa social media ko is full negative na sa timeline ko, I think I'm not safe. Why? Merong depression, di ba, na pumapasok. Then, hindi natin alam kung sino yung nakakasalamuhan natin by the social media. Like for example, randomly, may nag-add sa'yo sa Facebook, sa Instagram, follow you, di ba, someone. Hindi mo alam kung i-accept mo siya. But, pag na-attract ka dun sa tao, i-accept mo siya. And you're not safe na agad. Hindi tayo judgmental, but rather, yung tao na hindi natin kilala is nagiging mutual natin regarding on social media, di ba? And when it comes to parent naman, no, na pag advice sa atin or pag-guide sa social media, minsan talaga, tama si tita, kailangan natin ng communication with our parents and with our child as well. No? Kailangan natin makuha kung ano ba talaga yung kailangan ng bata. No? Naniniwala po ako na mas tayo po ang nakakakilala sa mga anak natin. At tayo ang nakakakilala sa magulang natin. Dapat alam natin kung paano tayo magsasabi sa kanila at alam din nila kung paano nila tayo tatanungin. Dahil ayan na yung society natin ngayon. And that's all.
Hello. Sa akin po bilang isang magulang, ang mga bata kasi ngayon, more on gadgets. Yan. Siyempre bilang mga magulang or bilang magulang, may supervision tayo sa ating mga anak. Hindi naman natin maaawat na ang mga kabataan ngayon sa pagsiselfone or sa anumang gadget na hawak niya. Nandiyan na eh. Tsaka minsan din, yung magulang ang mayroong na tayo pa yung nagbibigay din sa ating mga anak ng gadget. Sa takot natin na ma-istorbo tayo. Pero sana hindi tayo mawala ng supervision doon pagdating doon. Siyempre, kailangan natin i-open, pakialaman din natin yung mga, kung ano na ba, kung status ng bata, kung ano na o-open na. Lalo na doon sa mga ages na aminin na natin kasi from age 1, marunong na mag-scroll ang bata ng cellphone. Kaya nakakatakot yung ano na yan. Pero, kaya katulad din na sabi ko, supervision lang ang kailangan natin. Kailangan din yung communication, huwag mawala sa ating mga anak. Yun lang po yung mga kailangan natin gawin sa mga.
So, parental supervision and control and communication can only go so far. So we need to understand why children are going onto online spaces. Like why does, for instance, my daughter want to go game all the time? What is it? And we know from this study that LGBTQIA+ children go into online spaces because they feel accepted. They feel like they belong. They feel like they're not being judged. So to keep children safe, it's not just about controls and supervision and talking about online space, but it's actually addressing the harmful norms in communities that make LGBT children feel that they're not accepted, that exclude them, that silence them. So to really transform environments and communities to make children safe, it's about addressing the root causes. And you need a whole of society approach. It means involving children and families. It involves communities, teachers, community watch groups, child protection volunteers. It involves service providers, educators, social workers, law enforcement, judicial officials. And it involves holding tech companies accountable. Tech companies, gaming companies, ICT platforms, they should also be protecting our children. So, how do we protect children? It's not easy and it takes time, but it requires working together in partnership and collaborating with children and children's voices at the center.
Very well said. I think it is very evident that protecting children online isn't just about blocking harm or blocking dangers. It is also about understanding what really is the problem. It is about building spaces and building systems that will truly meet their needs. And so steering away from the interventions and the initiatives, I think it is also crucial for us to understand the existing groundwork, the existing policies that serves as the backbone of our protective system. So we are very lucky to have Ms. G. Mojica here with us. May I just ask, Ms. G, what current policies or programs po are in place to protect children, especially girls and LGBTI children, from online sexual abuse and exploitation or OSAE?
The passage of RA 11920 is the first anchor now when it comes to protection. We just recently concluded a children's consultation in trying to find out what would be the 20th Congress legislative agenda for children. We wanted to hear from the children what they wanted to be legislated. And part of that is still concerns on online sexual abuse and exploitation of children. So it gave me an opportunity to tell them, and it also made me realize that even if there is the law, which came about 2022, so that's just 3 years ago, it's not yet well known, okay? And sadly, I am from the government, but I cannot afford to be onion skinned or balat sibuyas or sensitive for that matter. But Philippines is known to have so many laws. I mean, our benchmark for legal framework, sobrang taas. Ang dami nating batas, but the bottleneck always is implementation. Right now, I not because I belong to government, but because as part of being an adult who connects with children, not only among my family, but also with the people that I have learned to love. Kasi my first assignment in CWC is working with children living and affected by HIV and AIDS. So, malapit sa puso ko itong usapin na to. And also, children in conflict with the law. So those are two assignments that until now, after 29 years, it's still here with me. Okay, and this is what I'm saying. Let's give the law the chance. Kasi you know, the strategic plan, they have just passed the strategic plan. The NCC OSAE is under another bigger council, which is the Interagency Council Against Trafficking. So, from the NCC OSAE, it was just approved in June, the strategic plan. They have to bring it up to the Interagency Council Against Trafficking. But what is good with OSAE? It got the attention of the president, no less than the president. And he made it a priority. That was the reason why in the middle of the so-called child-friendly local governance audit, ito yung audit na mandatory sa lahat ng LGUs. All LGUs are audited really because we want to see if they indeed have child-friendly laws and policies or practices or intervention. So we have indicators. The first thing that when the president really put his heart into combating OSAE, what he said is he wanted an indicator in that audit. And so now it is already part of the child-friendly local governance audit indicators. So isa yan sa mga i-check sa LGUs whether they have already adopted the local ordinance to ensure that they will cascade the law into their local ordinances. As of June 2025, 60% of the LGUs have already adopted local ordinances on OSAE, against OSAE and SISAE. So let's see. Maybe there may be reasons why some LGUs now have involved youth and children in combating OSAE. But this is also, as I told you, this can't be done alone by government. As Sosa said, it's a whole of government, in fact, whole of society approach. You know, it should all involve everyone. And so I'm calling for a little bit of patience. But I was asked, let me just check. Based on the KRA, well, part of the KRA, the key results area of the strat plan is advocacy and prevention. Because we see how much advocacy should be done to make sure that we really will be able to combat society. And the same thing is prevention. So part of that also is they're looking into part of the strat plan is they're planning the standards of child safeguarding in social media, which will be LGBTQI inclusive. Okay, and there's an upcoming Child Protect database that will ensure disaggregated data tracking and monitoring. And as I said, the Department of the Interior and Local Government, who are responsible for our LGUs, they've already included in their memo circulars. First is the inclusion of the indicators in the child-friendly local governance audit, and also another memo 2024-140 is a clear guidelines on the comprehensive on the comprehensive ordinance to address OSAE. So let's see how everyone will be working. See, we also don't want to be if there's anything that we're avoiding, that we become gold medalists or you know, we're known for being the center of online sexual abuse and exploitation. There was a time we were gold medalists in the Visayan region for adolescent pregnancy, for teenage pregnancy. But these are things that we're now considering because right now, a big factor that we have to battle as government and even as civil society is the religion. We were debunked with the adolescent pregnancy prevention bill because of the, well, I don't know if you're aware. If you're into social media, you will know about it. The Project Teresa that has been saying that if we pass the Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Act, it would mean we are introducing promiscuity and teaching our children, you know, actions that shouldn't be done. So we're now also getting into trying to change the term comprehensive sexuality education into reproductive health education. So there's nothing, I mean, it's funny, you know, but just the name, you know, they make a big fuss about it and everything is debacle. So in this, we need you. We really wanted to hear children because, you know, adults will not know what's happening to you unless you also speak.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that. There are indeed many laws in the Philippines and the bottleneck is in the implementation. So we've talked a lot today about the systems, the policies, but for many children, including myself, their first line of protection and affirmation starts at their home. So we have here a parent. We're really lucky to be graced by the presence of a parent, a mother, Miss Anna. So I would just like to ask, as a parent po, Tita Anna, paano po kayo nag-create ng safe space para po sa mga anak nyo for them to be able to express themselves, especially po yung identity po nila at saka po yung online experiences po nila. Kumbaga, paano po kayo nagiging better listener para sa inyong mga anak po?
Ayan, syempre. Siyempre bilang magulang, no, kailangan maging kaibigan tayo ng anak natin. Kung wala namang ibang lalapitan kundi magulang sa loob ng bahay, kung hindi mo yan magiging kaibigan, kanino pa magsasabi yung anak natin, kundi lalabas yan, siyempre, baka mamaya mali yung mga pagsabihan. Kaya kailangan, bilang isang magulang, ako, naging ano ko sa mga anak ko, mula ng bata sila. Open ako sa kanila, open din sila sa akin. Nag-build ako ng ganung ano sa amin, sa ganung patakaran o ganung environment sa loob ng bahay. Kinibigan ko yung mga anak ko. Pag nagsasalita sila, syempre, makikinig ako at hindi ako magja-judge kung ano yung ano nila. Pero tatanungin ko sila kung ano yung nafe-feel nila. Pero nandito lang ako para sumuporta lagi. Ganun. Syempre, nandito ka rin bilang magulang. Sasabihin mo rin sa kanila na pag ginawa mo ito ano mangyayari. Nandun lahat o yung mga consequences ng maaaring mangyari sa kanila pag meron, pag ganun yung ginawa nila. Pero syempre, nanay ka, talagang iintindihin mo at ikaw yung kakampi nila hanggang sa dulo.
Naalala ko po yung lagi sa akin sinasabi ni Mama. Lagi niya pong sinasabi sa akin na parenting doesn't come with a manual. Kasi it is very difficult. It is very difficult, especially when raising a child whose experience differ from your own. Especially alam naman po natin na sobrang iba na yung generation natin ngayon and yung panahon ng mga parents natin, the traditions, the customs, the practices, it is very different. So I just can't help but ask Tita Ana once more kung may mga naging adjustments po ba kayo? May mga things po ba na in-unlearn nyo or nirethink nyo para mas masuportahan po yung anak nyo sa buhay po nila?
Marami. Kasi lumaki ako ng traditional, diba? Noon, maraming bawal. Ganun. Maraming bawal nun sa amin. Tapos, lumaki ako na, syempre, nahigpit yung magulang. Ganun. Ngayon, hindi mo po pwedeng gawin yun sa mga bata. Kailangan sumayaw ka sa totoo. Diba? Sabi nga nila. At yun nga, kailangan, kung ano yung naranasan mo na hindi maganda noon, siyempre wag mo lang gawin. Tsaka, ito yung trend eh. Bakit mo ibabalik yung noon? Iba na sa ngayon. Iba na yung pamumuhay ng bata. Mabilis pati ang pamumuhay ngayon, di ba? Yung buhay ng mga bata. At maraming matatalinong bata sa ngayon. O, di ba? Hindi ko naman sinabi yung mga bobo ng mga tao noon. Sorry po. Hindi ko naman sinabi ngayon. Kaya lang po kasi, sa technology po kasi, di ba? Nabubuhay ang bata ngayon more on modern technology. Hindi katulad noon. Sa atin noon, modern lifestyle. Hindi katulad nga noon, mabagal. Tapos more on traditional kami. Ngayon, syempre, kailangan nating intindihin. Kaya nga sabi ko sa iyo kanina, yung mga nakaraan, hindi na ibinabalik yan. Kailangan yung ngayon ka, sumabay ka kung ano yung napapanahon. O go with the flow, sabi nga ng kapatid ko. Ayan. Kaya yung mga swerte yung mga bata ngayon. Pero kami, mga magulang, syempre, kailangan namin habulin kung ano yung sa kasalukuyan. Kaya nga, sinasabi ko lagi doon, pag nung ako'y nasa barangay pa, kakaibiganin natin yung mga anak natin, iintindihin ngayon. Pakikinggan at hindi muna natin sila kailangan i-judge kung ano sila. Buong pusong tatanggapin dahil sila ay regalo sa atin ng Diyos.
I think it's you na
Totoo yun, ano? You have to keep up with the younger generation. The modern world. Yeah, because I have to learn about Skibidi. And the sauce. Kaya ako slave. But, sinabi na, tell them mama that you're a slave in our safe space. So, kung sila ay AN Hype, BTS lang ako eh. Siyempre, bias ko si Jean. Pero na si Jungkook. So, if you talk about the idols, my wallpaper is Gokyu. But I have my bias for Jungkook, Jungkook, Yan, yung mga pogi. And sa Chinese, si Dylan Wang. So, this is how I am able to, to keep the rapport between the younger generation and sa amin. And I encourage also the people in CWC and also yung mga friends ko, pasay na yung pinapatahimik mo yung bata. And in fact, it is with my grandchildren that I have learned that I should have my dump account in IG. Kasi sabi nila, I should be safe from their dada. So dapat gagawa nila ako ng dump account. I don't know how to do the dump account. They need my TikTok account. Magdadump pa rin daw ako dahil alam na ng dada nila yung aking TikTok. So lahat nila dump accounts. So I have my ex. But hindi yung ex na ano, I have my ex account. Kasi sumalakit na wala yung aking ex. Okay? And also, they wanted me to go to Discord. Sabi ko, but I'm not a gamer. Why? Kaya na mama, that's why you should learn Mobile Legend. Sabi ko, if I learn ML, I'd be addicted to it. With so much work, how can I still play ML? Diba? May ML, may Call of Duty. Meron pang, Valorant. Diba? Tapos, now I have my Snapchat, but I won't tell you my account. So those are things you have to team up with children kasi otherwise I won't know what they're thinking about. Diba? So that's it.
So it is very nice to know that some parents or grandparents are making their effort to meet their children halfway. And as parents, we need to dance to the rhythm according to Tita Ana. As parents, we need to be present. And so, building on that, we know that many children, especially those exploring their identity or experiencing harm online, they carry emotional burdens that often go unseen. So, for Mix Rob, Gian, what one practice would you recommend to parents, educators, or community workers to support mental well-being of children, especially those exploring their identity or experiencing harm online?
Okay, ayan. So, ilang year tayo po. Pinatay ko to. So, una, na-appreciate ko actually yung sharing ng ating panelists on how to raise a queer child. Kasi